Hey there, I'm Jeff Elkins, and this is the Dialogue Doctor Podcast. Today on the podcast, I'm sitting down with author Mary Van Everbroeck to look at a short story she's written and talk about creating powerful emotional moments. Okay, so I've got two big announcements, two deadlines coming up this week that I want you to be aware of. The first one is on Tuesday, that is one day after this drops, September 23rd. I am doing a 2-hour masterclass with the amazing editor, C.S. Lakin. We sat down today and sculpted out the final details of the class. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're looking at some examples of masterful dialogue. We're talking about what makes dialogue, and we're not talking about it from like, hey, let's talk about dialogue tags or the simple stuff like that. We're going to go deep. It's truly a masterclass where we are going intense on what we're discussing. So if you want to come to that, look to the newsletter on Monday. Look to the newsletter on Monday. There'll be a link in there to sign up for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. 2 hours on Tuesday. And if you can't make it at the time that it's being recorded, 10 a.m. Central, 1 p.m. Eastern, if you can't make it live, you will get a recording of it after. So that is the first thing. The second thing, y'all, the Dash starts in 1 week. Starts September 28th. You have 1 week left to sign up. The Dash is our 80-day community experience. It's 9 webinars. It is office hours 3 times a week that you can come and get help at. It is a supportive community coming around you to help you write and finish your novel. So 80 days, let's get your novel done. Let's finish it out. Look, I know the world is crazy right now. The world is crazy. I know that. And I know there's a lot of pain. And the reason that I started writing, by the way, I'm not saying this to necessarily sell the Dash, although I think coming to the Dash is a good idea, but I feel the need to say this. I started writing when my life was wild. I was working a very stressful job, and I was kind of like in between seasons of life, and sitting down and writing fiction every night just took the pressure off. It was as if somebody was just, when I would sit down and write a short story, it was as if somebody was just turning that pressure dial and letting that off. And so the point of the Dash is to bring a community of people around you to help you meet the goals you want to meet. We're not going to set goals for you. We're going to let you set them. We're going to help you set them, and then we're going to help you meet them. And we're going to do that together for 80 days. Because if we do it for 80 days, I believe that it's going to be that needed pressure release for you, and you're going to fall back in love with writing. If you're struggling with writing right now, 80 days, you're going to get it done, and you're going to have a community around you helping you to do it. We are better together. Bottom line, we are better together. So come and join us. But I do just want to encourage you, even if you can't come and join us, get to writing. It'll help. It'll help with this pain. Get it out on the paper. It'll help. And if you're frustrated, sometimes what you need is to show up to an office hour and talk about where you're at and what you're working on, or where you're at and what you're not working on. I held an office hour today for the dialoguers, for the people that subscribe to the Patreon community. It felt really good to confess that, like, hey, my week has been chaos over the last week, and I haven't written anything. It felt good just to say it out loud and to say, like, tonight I'm going to sit down and get back to the page. So we want to help you get to the page. We want to help you get your work done. We want to help you think through your novel. Come and sign up. You can find all the details of the program at thedialoguedoctor.com. Click on the Dash button in the menu. You'll find it there. It costs $1 a day. That's all it costs, is $1 a day. This isn't a program we make a ton of money on. This is a program that we do to help the community of writers thrive. So come and join us. Come and thrive. We have a good time. It's a lot of fun. So come and join the Dash. And again, that starts on September 28th. So you are running out of time to sign up. You got 7 days. Come and sign up. You sign up at thedialoguedoctor.com. Click on the Dash button in the menu. and that'll take you to sign up. Okay. That is, those are all my formal announcements. I don't know that I have a personal update. Like I said, it's been a chaos week, and sometimes those happen. They're just heavy weeks fall. 10 days ago, I had a really huge day. I was getting, so let me back up. Tuesday a week ago, so 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks before this drops, I was getting really sick. I was getting a cold. 'Tis the season for me. I left the windows open all day Tuesday because it was really nice outside. I didn't want to run the air conditioning. I just wanted to be like, hey, outside time. This is great. But I forgot that trees hate me and that pollen, I love trees. Trees hate me, and pollen just attacked me. And so I got a cold. And then Wednesday was a huge day, and I think my immune system just kind of fell apart. And so Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I was really sick. And Thursday I was functional. Friday I was functional, but moving to illness. Saturday I was toasted. I was toasted Saturday. Sunday I was coming back. I finally started feeling like myself again Monday, came back around Tuesday, Wednesday, but then my wife had a giant carnival on Friday. She does this once a year. She works for a church in our community, leading children, and once a year she does a back to school carnival. There were 700 people at this thing. My 22-year-old and I ran the moon bounce. So there's a giant moon bounce slide where it's a huge inflatable slide. The kids run up one side and slide down the other. We try to make it fun by making it a race and yelling weird things and teasing them and just having a good time. So he and I got to work the moon bounce together. And it was fun. I like having him home. He's back from college and I love having him home. It's really great. Yeah, we had a blast. It was fun. And then, this weekend I started to recharge a little bit. So we had that huge event on Friday. I worked it all day. I built it Friday morning all day. And then we did the event and then cleaned up. We got home at 10 o'clock. And then Saturday, I just took a mental health day and got my crap together. Tried to pull life together. And then today I'm back working. So it's been a weird 10 days, but I share all that to say, there are times I think writing for most of us is not a full-time job. Believe it or not, people are always shocked by this. The dialogue doctor is something I do for fun on the side. This is not my day job. I have a day job. This ain't it. And writing is something I do for fun on the side. I've never made enough money to support my family on my writing. So it's there are times where it just needs to sit down because life is just getting too crazy. It's too busy and you just got to put it aside. But then I find I really need community to help me pick it back up. I need a group of writers around me so that I can confess to them, hey, I haven't done this. And they can look at me and go, all right, it's time to do it. And I say, all right, it's time to do it. And then we do it together. And that's the beauty of writing with people. And I don't mean co-writing. I mean being in a community of other writers around you. Because look, this is a team sport. I know people think writing the isolated man in the cabin by themselves in the woods, or woman. Sorry, I had Thoreau in my mind, but the isolated person in the cabin in the woods, toiling over a manuscript late into the night at candlelight, and they're all alone, and this beautiful thing births from. That's not how it works. You have to have a community around you. You have to have. This is hard. You have to have a group of people going, hey, you can do it. We can do it. We're all doing it together, and yeah, it's hard and it hurts sometimes, especially when you write personal things. It hurts, but we can all do it together. So that's my encouragement to you today. You need a community. Find a team. Find people that you care about, that are willing to care about you and are willing to encourage you. And I don't mean critique partners. I don't mean find people to edit your work. That's not what I mean. I mean find people that you can do this writing life together with. It's super important. The Dialogue Doctor is my community, and I love it. And so we'd love to have you. But if we're not right for you, you might find another community that is. But get in that community and do this with people. All right. That's enough ranting for me. That was supposed to be a personal update, and it turned into a weird rant. And this is what happens when I have 10 days of not working on things, and then all of a sudden I'm back. I get all ramped up and woo, let's go. All right. So I'm really excited about this session with Mary. She wrote a great big cast scene, and we talk a lot about like emotional drivers. It's really good. So enjoy this
Okay. I'm with
session with
Mary Van
Mary.
Everbroeck. See, we just talked about me mispronouncing Mary Van Everbroeck. Sorry. We just
Okay.
talked about me mispronouncing it. And I was thinking about what's the right pronunciation of the name. I was doing uh a Bridget Jones Diary thing.
Yeah.
Fitzherbert. Yeah, and then I said the opposite. Mary, you were on, it's funny because you and I meet all the time, but you were on episode 224. I think that's the only other episode you've been on. Have you only been on the podcast once? It's really
Yes.
weird because you're such a huge part of the community, and you and I work together all the time. It's weird that people have only met you one time. Um, but I'm really glad we can do this tonight. This is fun, and this is much later than you and I usually work together. So
I know
yeah.
we may be sillier than more
I was
silly than
surprised
usual.
you signed up for this time. I was like, wow, Mary's going late
No,
tonight.
I grabbed the first one I could because I
Too
wanted the
funny.
story read.
That's funny. Um, okay, so tell people a little bit about your writing and what you write.
I thought about this because I knew you were going to
You know,
ask.
I was going to ask you. Yeah. I mean,
So
you're
I
around the
even have
community
it.
enough.
I have a cheat sheet. Um,
Wow, you know all of my tricks. See, this is dangerous because we do so much together. You know all of my tricks.
so for this moment, okay, it could change in the next minute, but this moment, um, I I want to write stories about us, our struggles, joys, our fears, hopes, and our triumphs in ways that reconnect us with the magnificence of who we are as we continue to live kinder, more loving, happier lives.
That's some powerful branding
Ta-da.
right there. Way to go. Nicely
Ta-da.
done. I
I
like
mean,
that a lot.
it's not a cocktail. It's not a,
Not yet,
but
but
it's
you're pretty dang close. That's great. Stories about us is very compelling. Very well done. Um,
thanks.
yeah, I can see that as your website header in the future. Mary Van Everbroeck, stories about us. Anyway, that's really exciting. Okay, so we're gonna look at a piece together. You sent it to me. This is one a short story you wrote that you posted in December of 2024.
Right.
So almost a year old. Um, before we get started, because I think there's a lot of different ways you can go with this piece. Uh, what do you want from it? What do you like about it? What do you want it to do?
Well, what do they call them now? Gardener. I'm a gardener or a pantser. When I started writing this, I had no idea how it was going to go.
Okay,
And now that it's over and I've reread it after, I haven't read it for a while, what I realized what the story really is the sister connecting with her brother
okay.
within the chaos of the family.
That's
Um,
the important thing to you is the sister-brother connection.
I well, and the dynamics of all the I mean that's a major that's a theme, but also the father um and the dynamics are so the passivity of the dad who has always been that way, and then the aggressiveness of the mom and the younger sister, and so there's an awful lot going on in this family, but the reason the ending came out the way it did is I wanted those two to connect, the
Okay,
sister and the brother, in ways that she had yearned for all her growing up life, but never had the opportunity to have because of the mother and the sister and because of the passivity of the dad, you know?
okay, okay. Um,
Oh, I'm sorry, Jeff. And one more thing,
yeah,
forgiveness. The main, the at the end also is forgiveness. In other words, that whole bit about, well, they weren't as bad as what their parents did to them. There's an understanding and a reconciliation and forgiveness.
okay. So let's talk. Why don't we talk big picture first and then go to like inline notes? Is that okay?
Sure, do whatever.
So if you want, here's how the story plays out in from my perspective of how I read it.
Okay.
Sue, who's your POV. It's in third person close. Sue is your vehicle character.
Hmm.
She's married to Paul. Her brother is Tim. His wife is Alice. Um, their niece Polly is there. And then Kate is the mom, Frank is the dad, and Eileen is the younger sister,
Right.
right? Who's Polly's parents?
I I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Is Polly Paul's niece or Sue's niece?
False.
Paul's niece. Why is Polly at this family dinner?
She was invited. I don't know.
Okay.
I
These
guess
are some
so.
things that I like. These are some things I want to clear up as we go through the story
Okay.
because this is very much like, I think this is a common scene. Like so what's going to happen is they're going to start sharing news with each other about life developments. They're there to celebrate Fred's graduation from his master's degree. The Sue is going to try to like urge her mom to do something. It's going to explode. Tim is going to announce that he's moving. That causes a bigger explosion. Then Sue announces that she's pregnant, and that kind of sets everything off the rails. And then Sue walks out, and then at the end, you have her and Tim making a connection in the like driveway, I assume, as they left. And all of this stuff at the end of the connection comes up where it's like, well, our grandparents were worse to our parents than they are to us. And then you have her apologizing that she didn't protect him from abuse, which kind of comes out of nowhere.
Right.
Um, and then you get this forgiveness. So where he forgives her, what's happening?
Well, they forgive their parents.
They forgive their parents. Yeah, everybody forgives everybody. Um,
Of course.
so if you want to, there's stuff that comes in at the end that's very dark that you don't set up
Right.
at the beginning. There is Fred used to beat you.
Mhm.
There's no indication of that through the piece. And there is Fred and Kate were abused by the grandparents who aren't in this story. There's also no indication of that through the story. So you can still, but that drives the forgiveness at the end. So we have in the very like core of the story, the theme of the story, we have this contradiction that the theme is actually being driven by these things we don't know and aren't even hinted at. They kind of come out of nowhere.
Can I interrupt a minute?
Yeah, please.
In the beginning, I say right up in the beginning that Sue wondered if the reason her dad kept hanging his head was connected to what happened when they were growing up. Um,
Yeah, but
I,
I thought that meant Sue and Tim growing up, not Fred growing up.
no, I mean the kids,
Oh,
Sue and Tim.
you're hinting at the
Yeah,
abuse
at the
there.
abuse there.
Yeah, so here's the line you're talking about. She studied him, hunched with his hands folded on the table, staring down. The words contrite and penitent pushed from the center in her mind. Was there a connection, a link between what had happened in the past when she, Tim, and Eileen were children, and her dad bowing his head, hiding his eyes? A kind of cause-effect connection. She didn't know. Now, that you're right, that does create a mystery of what happened in the past, but it nowhere does that indicate abuse, especially since Fred is so passive. Does that make sense?
Mm,
Fred is incredibly passive in the story. And so you don't get the feeling that
is
is
connected.
hinting at abuse.
Okay.
Um, so I think you have to do one of two things. You either have to make the meat of the story darker by bringing these elements in, with somebody making an accusation of abuse and then Kate and the father defending themselves by saying you have no idea how we had it. You weren't abused. You don't even know what abuse is. That then you could bring the forgiveness in at the end, but it's going to make this story much darker.
What's my other option?
Your other option is to change the ending so that the forgiveness is more Tim and Sue finding connection around what just happened, and they're happy for each other and their ability to move on. They can apologize for not telling each other. Sue can apologize for not being as close as she wanted to be to him. He can apologize for not being as close to her. And then they can make some kind of connection around, family is family. This is who we're kind of stuck with. And like, because Tim could say something like, so are you going to call everybody together when the baby's born? Or are you going to have a shower? And she's going to be like, yeah. And he's going to be like, are you going to invite, mom and Eileen? And she's going to be like, of course I am. Right. Like that's the kind of ending you could bring. I'm not saying do that specifically, but that ties into the conversation you've just had, where forgiveness is kind of like, you don't need to create a reason that the family is this way. The family just is this way.
Eh, 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 Okay. Is there any way I can write this so there's no way I can write it that um because of everything that went on in the family that's in the short story, that Tim and Sue were estranged. I can't bring in the fact that there was abuse without going dark.
You
And that
can, you
she
just have to bring it into the conversation. You can't surprise us with abuse at the end.
okay.
Or if you want to surprise us with abuse at the end, you really need to hint at it heavily so that we're trying to figure out what it is you're hinting at. Does that make sense? Right now,
Mhm.
abuse is operating like a god in the machine, a deus ex machina. And the idea behind the god in the machine, the where that phrase comes from is in Greek literature. Literally at the end of every Greek play, a god shows up and fixes everything. And so, or there's a god at the beginning of the play that messes everything up, right? There's a force that you never see, you don't know about, that is actually directing all things in the story. And we don't like, as modern readers, God and the Machines. We don't like that. We want to be able to relate to these characters and understand how they connect to each other. We want to take this emotional journey with this character. It's why oftentimes ancient literature is hard to read, right? Like, as somebody who got a master's of divinity and has read the entire Bible, like, I don't know, a lot. Um, it's hard to connect to because not like it doesn't tell stories like modern literature because there isn't the emotional journey of the character is not important to the ancient writer. God in the Machine is. And so like this, you're running into like you're doing something that modern readers don't like. They feel like it's a gotcha in the
So
end. So
so if I
if you want
okay.
to keep it, you need them talking about the unmentionable thing. The thing we don't talk about needs to be coming up all the time.
So when the son Tim turns to him and says it's more money, or there's those few close moments between the dad and Sue and dad and Tim, I would have the dad say something like, I really am sorry for what I did. Something
That
like
could
that.
it could work that way. I would probably bring it in the heated moments.
Heated
The
moments.
other problem you have with Fred being abusive is that somewhere in here there's been a dramatic change from a man who's abusive to a man who is now very passive. I would almost have Kate be the abusive one. I don't know that I'd make Fred abusive. I'd make him an enabler. That's how he functions in the story.
Right.
But he's not abusive in the story. Does
He's
that make
passive
sense?
because of Kate.
Yeah, but you don't know that like, oh, Fred used to be the domineering one and now Kate is.
Okay.
It seems that his personality has always been, even Sue's opening like volley with Kate is, hey, what if we bought a car for dad? Like dad seems to be the one that's like put upon and like,
He is. He will.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
so it doesn't make sense that I mean, look, abuse comes in a lot of different forms, and like, passive people can be very abusive too. I'm not saying that. But
Hmm. For the story.
in
Yeah.
literature, we want it to make sense. And if you had a novel length story, you could work that in. But you have 3,000 words. So you got to like knock down this idea that like you got to simplify the concept. Like you and I
Okay.
have talked about this in a short story, you get a moment.
I know.
That's all you get is a moment. You don't get a full movie, you get a scene in a movie. And so you have to pack as much power with that scene as possible. And part of that is people are who they are. So you don't have like dramatic in the past he was this person and now he's this, unless that's what the short story is about. Does that make sense? So, and that's not what and that's what I'm trying to tell you is that like if you want this short story to be about abuse and forgiveness from abuse, the short story has to be about abuse and forgiveness from abuse. It can't be about them kind of having this angry conversation and then at the end being like, we should forgive them for the abuse they caused us. Does that make sense? It has to be about abuse. Because if it's now, if you don't want it to be about abuse and you just want it to be about forgiveness, then we
Mhm.
just take the abuse out of the end and we
Okay.
have them forgive each other for something else.
Something else.
But it's neither of these, like, and again, I say this to you all the time. Neither of these are right or wrong. It's just what you want in your story.
Well, I want the readers to get it, so
Okay.
that's what you're helping me with. You're trying to help me write it in a way that they're going to get it. So you're giving me two options, I'm hearing. One is
Yeah.
to take out the abuse, right? And
Yeah.
and have their connection, their reuniting be for some other reason,
Be
just
about something else. Be about the
okay,
fact that they come from this very dysfunctional family with
right,
this super passive dad and this very angry mother,
right.
and that they've made it through,
Okay.
and
Okay.
that they still love these people, that they're still at dinner with these people, and that they're
Right.
still going to have a relationship with these people.
Okay.
That's where this piece is kind of leading.
Okay. That's where I'd like it to go.
Okay, so let's do that. And the reason I wanted to talk to you about up front is because it that shapes how we edit.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Um, yeah, and so anybody that listens to this, like have these conversations with your editor. You should always have these conversations with your editor. Yeah, you need to let your editor know what you're looking for in a piece so that so that they're editing toward your goals. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. That was me I just needed to take
Good.
that aside
Hmm.
and explain why I've rambled. Oh, I forced you to ramble on about this with me for like 10 minutes. 20 minutes, 30 minutes. How deep are we in? 35 minutes. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. And I will say, as I figure out how to share my screen, um, just to say, Mary, these scenes like this, where you have this very explosive family dynamic and everything's building and it's very uncomfortable. These are really powerful scenes. Um, did you ever watch The Bear? I think you and I have talked about this scene before. There's a scene in the TV show The Bear called Seven Fishes.
No, I haven't seen.
Oh, it's amazing. It's very similar to what you're doing here, but it's not about forgiveness, but it's about it's explaining the dysfunction of this family.
Okay.
I think it's in season 2.
Okay.
It's one of the greatest, I think without question, one of the greatest 45 minutes of television ever made.
Okay. I'll
And
look
it's a family having this Catholic dinner, and there are all these explosive personalities. The
like a normal
mother,
family.
no, I mean escalated. The mother is in the kitchen cooking, and from the outset, from the first minute a conversation starts, you realize like, oh, she's crazy, and she's gonna pop. And so the whole time you're just waiting for her to pop. And then they get into the dining room. And at the dining room, you have two very smug, distant relatives. One of them is played by John Mulaney, is literally just there to be entertained. He knows there's going to be a fight, and he's so excited. And then you have two kind of, mafia type guys, older guys that are definitely quasi criminals. And then you have an older brother and his best friend who we know are very explosive and love to fight. And then you have a sister and the youngest brother, Bear, who are just trying to like keep everybody together. And it is fantastic. And it ends in an explosion. It ends in this like there's no forgiveness at the end of it. It ends in this huge explosion that like kind of explains the family dynamic. But your story reminds me of that scene a little bit. It's
Mm.
the same kind of
Okay,
moment with a different purpose because you like to end yours happy. Um,
I do.
all your stories that happen. Okay, so are you okay if we just do? Is there anything you're dying to talk about? Or are you okay if we
No,
just
you
go
go right
through?
ahead. Go right
Okay,
ahead.
I love your opening sentence. So it's like we talk about starting stories with an emotional tone. Fantastic emotional tone. Kick off the story. Sue closed her eyes, hoping the usual didn't happen. Harsh words, the scowls, the tears, and her family storming off in a huff. She wished, so that's a fantastic opening. You're giving me the like tone of what's happening. And then I start to edit here because you have this beautiful complex sentence and then you followed it with this very tight one sentence with a period. And it really, this again is this editing is in this first paragraph is 100% to my taste, not necessary. But so what I did was I cut any superfluous words and I made the second sentence as complex as the first and the third. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
So beautiful opening paragraph. Sue closed her eyes, hoping the usual didn't happen. Harsh words, the scowls, the tears, and the family storming off in a huff. She wished for this with all of her heart, not just because they were celebrating Dad's victory, but also because she hoped she and her brother Tim might have a chance to reconnect. She wanted them to be so much closer, but the family drama always got in the way. It's a great, you set up for us so important in a short story. You tell us so much of what's happening right before we get there. It's really good. How do you feel about that opening
Yeah,
paragraph?
yeah,
I think you did great.
I like it. Yeah.
I would have a note here. Your next line is Sue looked at her dad and smiled, ready. Because Sue closing her eyes
Hmm.
is such a moment, I would have her open her eyes. Sue opened her eyes, looked at her dad and smiled.
Okay. Okay.
Because there's a like disappearing into herself and then a coming back. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
So if you ever open her eyes, you get the feeling of like a start of something. Um, if that's helpful.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it flows better too. It gives the reader a better picture, I think, too.
Then your next big paragraph, Sue cleared her throat and stood, smiling at her husband Paul. Beside him sat his niece Polly, and across from them, Tim and his wife Alice. And at the far end of the table sat Sue's mother Kate and Sue's younger sister Eileen. I would have a one additional sentence here. You do a great job of laying out for me where everybody is, spatially aware of where everybody is and everybody that's in the room. I'd add one additional sentence here on Sue's reflection on maybe the end of the table, because you put them at the end of the table.
There's a reason I put him at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think it's great. And I might have Sue comment on like, um, maybe yeah, if you were, well, yeah, I'd have some kind of comment, a line here from Sue about how that feels. Um, but again, it's just texture. It's not necessary. It stands fine how it is. I think it brings a little more texture to it if you do. Um,
Yeah,
I'd
I
make it
agree
about
with.
Sue's emotions. So like she cleared her throat, stood smiling, Paul beside him, his niece, Tim, his wife, and Allison. At the far end of the table sat Sue's mother, Kate, Sue's younger sister, Eileen, and then maybe something like, parked next to them was Sue's terror. at what they might do.
Okay.
Something
I
like
like it
that.
when
Like
you give
something like that.
examples.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, then here you had Sue turn to her dad, lifting your original was Sue turned to her dad, lifting his arm as though declaring him a champion, and handed him a glass of port wine with the other. Very complicated. She's kind of like this motion.
Yeah. Juggling.
And then he brought the glass to his lips and said, "Thank you, dear, my favorite." And then here, lifting his arm as though declaring him champion. Oh, sorry. Then you said Sue nodded, looking into his eyes. Here's to you, Dad. She said as clapping were erupted. Well done, bravo, congratulations, leap from the table. So you have the first paragraph of the action and then the comment on the action and two paragraphs down and his interruption. Because he has this interruption that I think is nice, it communicates a very interesting thing between her and his relationship and that she's a daddy's girl. Is that what you were going for?
No, I mean, I don't, I guess she is, but I wasn't thinking about that when I wrote it.
It
She's
comes
close to both of them, you know?
Okay, it comes out that way because she also suggests that he should have a car.
Yeah.
So
Well, she's always standing up for, yeah.
yeah, she
Okay.
seems to be like his defender,
Right.
which
Right.
was one of the, if we had gone with the abuse route, it was one of the things I was going to make you take out. It's like, she's not going to be this nice to him. So yeah. So what I want, I like you do a great job with the movement here and the imagery. I just want to simplify it. So have Sue turned to her dad and handed him a glass of port wine. He brought the glass to his lips. Thank you, my dear favorite. Lifting his arm as though declaring him champion, Sue nodded, looking into his eyes. And then you have him say that, and then
More
everybody
sense.
cheers.
Right.
Yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
just separate it. It doesn't have to
Mm-hmm.
be complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Here's another one. Fred smiled, and then you had rotating his gaze on each of them, nodding as he looked down at the table. And then she has this paragraph we just read a minute ago about him looking down at the table.
Mm-hmm.
I would take out rotating his gaze on each of them because that makes it sound like he's looking at them, where you actually want him looking down.
Right. You're right.
Yeah, so I just cut that. Um, okay, so really strong. The opening, Mary, is really strong. I really like it. Anything else about the opening that you want to talk about? Okay, things are doing really well. I know where everybody is. I know you've set the emotional tone. This is an explosion waiting to happen, right? I know that Sue has this compassionate relationship with her father and that she has kind of a leadership role in the family that she's running.
Parentified. Yeah.
Yeah, that she's running things. Um, so you did all of that in like 5 paragraphs. And you explained to me why they're here and what they're doing. So fantastic job. Really well done. Um, so let's get down into the first kind of volley. Uh, Sue tells him, they talk about what they're celebrating, that he's gotten this master's degree. They all cheer about it. And then you have several paragraphs here, a full half page, talking about how hard it was for Fred to get this degree. What are we doing in this section?
Well, I guess it's just part of the celebration, but I, as you call, I think you call branches. I think I went off here a little
You
bit.
did. You branched off. You've got a branch coming off the trunk.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a bad branch, but if you want to use it, we need to use it for something.
What could you see any way I could use it that made sense to the story, or enriched it at all?
It puts, the story, the main line of the story is about what you want it to be about is Sue and Tim being these fairly well-adjusted people from this weird family where the father's passive and the mother is mean and the youngest sister is brainwashed. Um, I think this idea of the father's sacrifice, there's a couple ways to use it. Right now, you have a paragraph where Sue and everybody praises him. he then thanks Tim, right? And then we have another paragraph where Paul comes in and praises him, and Polly jumps in and praises him. Polly explains how hard he worked. Tim and Alice agree. Polly turned back to Fred 11 and then explains even more how hard he worked. And then that leads into Sue wanting a second car. If you want to keep all of this, I would start hinting at Kate here. Like one, not I would. One thing you can do here is bring a little tension in it by giving Kate some side comments.
Oh yeah, that'll be easy. Okay.
You could that's one thing you can do.
Okay.
Another thing you can do is just cut it back. I think this is the only place I think that Polly actually speaks. You can take Polly out of this altogether. You
I
don't.
think I should take Polly out of the whole thing, don't you?
Yeah, if you take Polly out here, you're gonna lose like two full paragraphs, which I
Right.
don't.
I
They
don't
don't.
think I need her at all in the story.
Yeah, I don't. You don't. She
Or,
doesn't do anything. She's
well, she
actually just
brings
kind of
up
in the
that they're
way.
pregnant, but she makes a big deal of
But you
that.
don't need. You can have Alice do that. Like you don't
Okay.
need Polly to do that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
you can have Tim do that. If Tim is the one that's excited that Sue's pregnant, it gives them a connection. Does
Okay.
that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But I might pull Polly out of here because I don't know that she's doing anything.
Yeah, I
If
agree.
you pull Polly out, I would probably cut it like, I don't know how you could have kept the schedule you did for all this time.
Yeah, the whole
I would
point.
probably cut all
Yeah.
of that, this section
Okay.
right here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's fine.
yeah, and so here you have this call for Sue wanting a second car for the dad.
Mm-hmm.
Sue has this thought of like, I think he needs a second car.
Yeah.
Sue nods. I might go ahead, Mary, even though you're cutting this, I might give Kate a quip in here.
Right.
Because I'm just noticing for the first time, Kate hasn't spoken yet.
Not yet.
I might give her just a line or two in here. And the line or two would be kind of tease it. You want to hint that, like, oh, the volcano's at the end of the table. I just have her tease Fred a little bit about, like, he probably enjoyed not being around or, something of that
Yeah, when he had
nature. He
that
had to get
schedule
out of the
right.
house so he wasn't
Mm-hmm.
around me, like that
Yeah,
kind of
right.
quip that makes it about her and like
Okay.
but I
Okay.
just have a quip and don't have anybody respond to it because you just want to hint that like, hey, Kate's down there.
Right.
And then here, Sue suggests that they buy Dad a car. And Eileen really goes hard, which is great. I think you should keep Eileen going hard. But to justify her going hard, I would change Sue's paragraph to be about, I know I've brought this up before. Have Sue resurrect an old fight as opposed to this being new and out of the blue. Does
Okay.
that make sense?
Yeah.
Because that will justify
I
Eileen's
mean,
explosion because she's just picking up where they left off.
right. Got it.
But
That makes sense.
if this is the first time Sue's thinking about
Oh,
this, yeah, it's also a little weird that Sue's known her whole life that her dad worked this hard and that she's been like picking him up and taking him places and he's been like taking the train his whole life. And this is the first time now that she's
no,
an
no, no.
adult it
When it's
occurs
not
to
the
him.
first time, so you're
Yeah.
right. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a little strange logically. Um, I love Eileen's explosion. I love that this is the first time. I love that you start Kate silent and Eileen speaks for her. Great setup for the duo. Kate stared at Sue as if she were from another planet, while Eileen pushed back her chair, its legs scraping against the wood floor, and gasped, "That's absurd, Sue," Eileen voted. "Mom needs her own car, and they can't afford a second one." Per- Perfect, right? Like, we don't need to see Kate blow up here. She's got her minion to do it. It's
Right.
great. Yeah. Um, this back and forth is fantastic. Where Fred sides with Eileen. Eileen's like, of course I'm right, and then checks to Mom. Mom's like, yes, you are. Fred raises his hand. I'm fine. He tries to put it to bed. Um, then Sue starts to protest, and it says Paul placed his hand on Sue's knee and squeezed gently, or gently squeezed. Sweetheart, don't. That struck me weird.
Well, he's trying to calm her down. He knows all about the history.
But she's not the problem.
But
Does that
no,
make
of
sense?
course. Right, but he's the outsider. He's the in-law, you know.
How do you want he and Sue's relationship to be?
I very loving, supportive. That's why he says, I'm going to get our coats. Maybe he
Okay.
should have said that right away, you know, but
I don't think he needs to say I'm going to get our coats, but I'm instead of sweetheart don't, because
okay.
sweetheart don't is kind of like, hey, you're the problem, calm down.
Oh, really? Okay.
I'm because he's telling her not to. I
Okay.
might have him say something like, hey, it's not worth it.
Okay. I see where you're going with that.
Does
Yeah.
that make sense? Like
Hmm.
have him defend, like come, he needs to be on her side all the time
Absolutely. Yeah.
to paint the relationship you want to paint. So
Okay.
instead of sweetheart, don't hear, I'd
Oh,
have him be like, hey, it's not worth it. Or like,
I,
don't let him get to you.
yeah.
Right? Like I might say something like that.
Yeah. He
Does that
says
make
that
sense?
later on, but I like what you said. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, but he needs to be on her side. And right now it sounds like
Right.
he's telling her to cut it out.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. That's good.
You do a great job here of giving us this back and forth and then hitting us with a reflection. Really well done. It reads really well. Um, yeah, Mary, the pacing of this is really fantastic. Um, I'm giving Tim, you had Tim jump in here, and you originally just had him said, Tim turning to Alice, honey, do you think we could get dad a car?
Mhm.
I just want to give him a little more of a like lead into it.
Okay.
Mostly because the conversation's tense. And so you want to show the
Oh,
tenseness of the conversation by making everybody hedge a little bit before
okay.
they speak. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Because what Kate has taught her family is you don't talk, you don't say things I don't like, or you're going to get it. So you want Tim to hedge in a little bit and be like, you know,
Okay. Okay. That's
like,
good.
hey, I'm just spitballing. Like, please don't yell at me. But that kind of like just kind of like easing into the conversation. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Uh-huh. Good.
Um, this doesn't so Alice shook her head out of the question, honey. Remember, we have the moving costs coming up. She shook her head again. And now that we're moving sooner, what? Eileen cried out, moving. So the problem is you haven't established that Eileen is whispering this. Because in a second, Eileen says, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for
You
anyone to
mean
hear.
Alice? I
Alice, yeah,
should say
sorry.
whispering. Okay, right.
Yeah, Alice either needs to whisper
Or
or
not
she needs to
whisper.
be
She thinks
like,
she's whispering.
yeah, but right now she's just talking to the table.
Right, right.
And I might have her speak in code more than just coming out to say it and be like, Alice shook her head, honey, what about the upcoming costs? Things are coming sooner than we thought. And then you're gonna have Eileen be like, what sooner? And have Alice be like, oh, don't worry about it. It's a private thing. And have Eileen be like, nothing's private at our table, right? Like, and have Kate be like, why are we keeping secrets? And then you can have Tim be like, it's okay, dear. We might as well tell them, right? Like, so give me
Okay,
let her talk in code, let
okay,
Eileen dig it out of her.
okay. All right.
Yeah. Does that help?
That's more, yeah.
And
Hmm.
I think that's what you're going for. The only reason I suggest it is because it feels like that's what you're trying to get at this moment. Is Eileen like forcing them to talk about things they don't want to talk about?
Right. You're right.
Um, Okay, before we get into the Tim stuff, how do you feel about all of that? Any
Good.
questions, anything you have?
No, it's very helpful.
Okay. So we move on here to this discussion of moving, which I think is really great. I want to set it up a little bit more, meaning I want to build into Kate hollering and standing a little bit. I just want a couple more exchanges in here. Um, so he says, Tim says, I told you a while back that I might have to relocate. Right, Kate stated Holly, but you told us it wasn't for sure, she snapped, plopping back in the chair. Eileen shot up from her chair, tears streaming down her face. Tim, she yelled, but you never made it sound like it would actually happen. She grabbed her napkin, wiping her eyes, and she leaned over the table. And couldn't you tell me first? She fell back in the chair. I thought we were close. So now you two, Fred interjected, living and said, you are close. It's a great moment. I just want you to stretch it out a little bit. So when he says, remember, I told you you would have relocated, you can have her, Kate, say something, or have Eileen say something like, no, Tim. And then have Tim be like, look, it's not that big a deal. Like, have him try to pacify again, like, it's not that big a deal. And have Kate be like, it's not that big a deal. What are you talking about? And or like, you can't, Tim. And then Tim can be like, it's a good opportunity. And then you can have Eileen yell like, Tim, no. And then he can be like, I told you this. I've warned you. And then have Kate stand up and holler. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can see the buildup. Yeah.
You can see the build, have them like build. You could even bring Alice in there if you wanted. Like you can have Alice say the phrase, it's not that big a deal, right? Like, or Alice say the phrase, it's a really good opportunity, and then have them like just build to that. But you need, otherwise, this moment's going to pass too quickly.
Yeah, I can see that.
You want that back and forth to make the reader really live in this beat. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep, it
Yeah.
does.
Um, okay, we went through that. This is great. This is the kind of back and forth I want there. The back and forth that you come back here to. Sue speaks like Mom Eileen, be happy for Tim. For Alice, Paul, congratulations, Tim. Great. Paul like just doing what Sue says. Sue's like, be happy. Paul's like, I'm happy. Like it's great. Fred leaning back, more money. Dad, lots more money. Fred says, like, it's good. That's real good. Dad, Fred doesn't respond. Repeated. Then Tim has this moment where he's like, I know how much you worry about us to be money wise, like money wise. And Fred takes a deep breath. I don't worry. I always have. And then you went, or I always have, uh, just want you to be okay. Then you go really deep here with Tim and you
Yeah,
kind of branch out again because they're
do
talking about
that.
money. They're talking about everything being okay. He's
Huh.
having this nice moment with Fred. So then Tim bows his head, patting Fred's hand. I know how hard it was for you, Dad, Tim said, his voice cracking, growing up poor. He leaned forward, whispering, Dad, I know you love us, is what you had.
I,
That goes, can you feel the branch?
yeah, it's I'm gonna be known for my branches.
Yeah,
Yes.
you can feel the branch like coming off. Stay in the thread, right? Like,
Yeah,
so you can
that's
just
what
have
you
something like, I just want you to know that I'm going to
yeah,
be all right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, keep it about him being all right. The I love you's unspoken here. It doesn't need to be spoken.
And it's plunging deeper than the story can go, right?
Yeah.
Or I wanted to go. Yeah.
Now, I'm just going to warn you here when we get into Sue's stuff, Fred is coming out like an angel right now. He's coming out like, man, he's a little passive, but he really balances out Kate's crazy. When we get to Sue's thing next, we need to make Fred crazy too.
Oh, really?
We need
Okay.
to, because this is about Sue and Tim forgiving a crazy family. Right
Okay.
now, it's about Sue and Tim forgiving a crazy mom. And so we need to pull Fred as the enabler that we know him to be,
Okay.
that we sense that he is. Does that make sense?
And it's not enough that he bangs on the table at that one time, right?
No, because he's kind of chastising Kate at that moment.
Okay.
And we all want to bang on the table like Kate. We all want to be like, Kate, shut up. Like we all want to do that. So that he does that is not, but we'll get there. I just
Okay.
wanted to warn you when we're in this moment of like
Okay.
Fred tearing up and everything being great. Like if I know it feels good, but we have to make Fred also a little nutso to pull your
Okay.
focus off of
Well,
you.
show me how to do that.
Um, again, here we have Paul saying, let it go, honey. Again, I would make it about them. I like Sue. Paul put his arms around Sue's waist, leaning close to her side. right? Like maybe something like, um, don't listen to them,
Okay.
or like, don't let them do this to you, or like make it about him protecting her from them. That's
Okay.
his role.
Instead of it being seen on her. Okay.
Instead of it being seen on him, this feels very diminishing. Let it go, honey. It's like, why are
Okay.
you doing
All
this
right.
again? As if Sue's kind of the
That's
problem.
true. Okay.
Yeah. Sue apologizes here. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cause a scene. It's great. Um, she always stirs up trouble. Eileen kind of comes back at her. This is great. Stop it, Eileen, please. Really good. Like you've got a nice build here. Everything's building really well. Again, I don't think you need this last line. Paul
Yeah, I
gazed
know.
at Sue, honey, don't let them get to you. Perfect. He blinked. You have to be careful, especially now. He leaned forward against her forehead. I love you so much, and you're going to be fantastic. You don't need that last piece. This is
Okay.
enough, right? All you really need is this. You don't have to be careful. You have to be careful, especially now. That's
And
all
that's
you.
enough hint for the pregnancy
That's
until it.
enough.
Okay.
That's enough for Eileen to be like, yeah. So Sue, especially this, Sue raised her finger, holding it against her lips, like, hey, don't tell anybody. Now you have Polly doing this here.
Yeah, but she's going to be out.
I'd cut her out.
She's going to be out. Yeah.
I'd have maybe Alice doing it.
Okay.
And I might have Alice say something like, wide eyed Alice saying, like, does that mean what I think it means?
Okay.
And then Paul can nod. Fred can raise his head, look at Paul, and then at Tim. Tim shrugs his shoulders. Sue swallows. Oh, well, yes, I do have news too. And then she can say her news. We're going to be parents. Um, Now, here you lose Eileen. Eileen is done in the piece at this point, and we still have 3 pages left to go.
I know.
So we got to weave Eileen back in. That makes
Okay.
sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. What I would have her do is, because Kate takes over here, I would have Eileen start to parrot Kate. Does that make sense? So
Hmm.
far, Eileen's been taking the lead, and Kate's just been adding her little jabs. Kate takes over here, but have Eileen parrot Kate so that
Okay.
she's suddenly the little dog that's like, that's right, that's right, that's what we're gonna do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Dad, you're happy for us. Fred leans over. Of course I am, dear. It's just Kate flings her napkin. I can't help myself. This is too funny. This is where I put Eileen being like, it's hysterical,
Right.
right? What's too funny, Mom? Tim reached over the table. Forget them, sis. You know how they can be. I wouldn't have her say thanks, Tim. I'd have Sue just smile.
Okay.
So when you guys do, is it a boy or a girl? Sue and Paul exchange glances, each raising one finger. Right, twins. It's great. Twins, Kate shouted. Have Eileen go, twins, and then have Kate say, I want to see this. She cackled. You handling twins. And have Eileen be like, it'll be hysterical. Right? Like you can have them like having their own building on each other.
Okay.
Here you need Paul to step in because now it's getting personal. Does that make sense? Like Sue's been talking about Tim and been fighting with her mom about how her mom treats Tim, but now they're saying that Sue's going to be a bad mom. So, Mom, I thought you'd be happy for us. Happy. Really, Sue? And then I'd have Paul say something like, don't talk to my wife that way. And then this is a good place to bring in Fred. And Fred can be like, don't talk to my wife that way.
Would he? I guess he would say that. I
He
don't.
would. He's the enabler. That's the enabler you've built, right?
Okay.
Like
All right.
Kate's
You're
been
right.
horrible this whole time.
Yeah.
Fred said nothing. This is the like that abusive situation you're looking
Okay.
for, and that everybody around the table is unhealthy,
Okay.
right? Tim and Sue are trying to build their own healthy relationships with other
Right.
people, but the home family is all unhealthy. Fred has got to be as unhealthy as everybody else to really sell the forgiveness.
Okay. Okay. That's good.
So I
And
would have Paul
then
and
Paul
Fred
can
have a
ask
back
for
and
the
forth.
coat. Okay.
Yeah, well, so Kate looks past Paul. You've only known her for 2 years. Paul, wait till you see what happens. Perfect. Sue, step back. I don't believe you. Paul kissed Sue, turning on from Kate. Honey, I'll get our coats. We're leaving. It's great, right? Like, that's great. And then Tim hops to his feet. Mom, don't let them leave like this. You know you're going to regret it. I might bring in Kate and Eileen here again, saying, like, let them leave. Fred raises his hand, slaps the table. And I wouldn't, he says, Kate, apologize. I would probably change that. I might have it be like, damn it, this isn't how we're supposed to behave. I'd have him chastise everybody. Does that make sense?
Okay.
I don't know. It's up to you, Mary, but I feel like here you're redeeming him in a way that makes us not have to forgive him for anything. But
You're right. I
if
have
you
to make
want him
him
to be
more.
the enabler, he's got to be like, damn it,
I'm
like
sick and
I did.
tired of this every
Yeah, I'm
time we get
sick and tired
together.
of this. All you always
All of
do
them.
this.
All of you.
All of you always do this.
Okay. All right.
I work so hard, and
Right.
this is how you treat me, right?
Okay.
Like pull him back here is like a weird. And then this is a huge moment. He's like passive Fred is actually yelling. Everybody needs to respond. In the same way that they all cheered, there needs to be a silence. There needs to be a shock. Everybody needs to look at him, nervous about what happens now. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then he can have his head aside is like, I'm not having her leave us like again like this. Right? Like this line's fine as long as up here he's yelling at everybody.
Okay.
And then everybody needs to respond. Part of the reason you need the response paragraph in here is because we need to note to the reader this is a big deal. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody needs to react to show that like him's banging his hand on the table and screaming is a big deal. Take this seriously. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So just
Mm-hmm.
stretch it a little bit and have everybody like jump in there. Um, Now Kate, I think Kate comes to the apology too quickly. Again, she's been horrible.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't let her get off this easy. So like Kate waved Fred off. It's the wine talking, she muttered. She looked at Sue and Paul. Paul, I'm so sorry. I might have her take a jab here and be like, it's the wine Sue gave him that's talking. Because Sue gave him the glass of wine. I might have her turn to Sue. It's the wine you gave him
Right.
talking. Paul, I'm so sorry. Apologizing to Paul is fantastic. Paul's like, it's not me you need to apologize. Paul said without turning around. You're right. And then she says, Sue, I'm sorry. It's just that I don't know how you're going to find time for everything. I would probably stretch this a little bit and be like, you're right, Paul. Okay, step closer. Rather than touching Sue's shoulder and saying, Sue, I'm sorry, I might have her touch Sue's shoulder, turn to the room, and say, I'm so sorry that Sue and I can't disagree in a civil manner. Something that is like not actually what she's supposed to be apologizing for. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then you can
Skirting
still
the issue.
skirting the issue. She's not looking at Sue and saying she's sorry. She's looking at
No.
the room saying like, I'm sorry for Sue. Right? Like, and then she could be like, it's just, and then have Sue, it's just what? Time for everything. That's great. But again, Paul makes this pronouncement that Sue's going to keep teaching and he's going to retire. It's such in contrast to who Fred is. This is a great opportunity to pull Fred back and to be like, I don't know what a man is without his job. Right? Like this is you've set this beautiful moment. Use it. Like get in there. Let Fred be like, I don't know what you think you're gonna do without this job. I'd never be happy just staying home. I don't know how I would have survived. And have Kate make a comment like, well, honey, men just aren't built the way that you are. And then you don't need to have a fight. Paul can just be like, we're leaving. Right? Let's get out of here. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Like
Mm-hmm.
that I would use this moment. He makes this big proclamation and you just kind of like fly over it. And then Tim has a toast, like a final toast. I'd let Fred and Kate weigh in here about the husband not leaving his job to be quote unquote. I might even have Fred call him the babysitter because that's kind of how the generation of Freds speak
Mm-hmm.
about men who
Mm-hmm.
stay home with. I think that's actually what an old man is. Because I went to seminary and like watched our baby while my wife worked full time, And I did have several men come up and call me the babysitter. So I would probably play off of that here. Um, this is a nice, you wrap it up here with a nice toast. It's really nice. Tim is the peacemaker, totally works, right? Um, Sue kissed Fred on the way out. Gosh, it was great seeing you again, Dad. I'm so proud of you. Congratulations. I wouldn't have Fred apologize. I'm sorry about all of this. I might have Fred say something like, we want you to come back and come back anytime. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah,
because you need to like justify like this is just normal.
this
Something
is
like that.
normal for.
Yeah, come back anytime. Yeah, yeah. Or you might have him say something like, "I'm sorry, I had to get loud, but things were just getting out of hand." Right? Like, but this is justified as normal. I wouldn't have him glaze up here and cry.
Right. No, no glazing, no
Yeah, no
light.
glazing. Keep him hard. Keep him defending Kate
Okay.
passively. Let
Okay.
them leave. You then have this moment outside with Tim. And so this is the moment we need to fix here at the end because this is
Yeah,
when
it
you start
doesn't work.
dropping all the dark material.
Right.
Can you see now how, like, now that we've talked through it, how Fred being an abuser doesn't fit this story? Um, so what I do here at the end is I like their connection. I think you did a really good job with it. Um, Instead of them rehashing the past, I would probably have Tim say something about being excited. I might have Sue say something like, I'm sad you're moving. Now I'm really never going to get to see you.
Mm-hmm.
I never get to see you. I really never get to see you. And I might have
Mm-hmm.
Tim say something like, there's no reason we can't
Mm-hmm.
have our own dinners.
Yeah, use the moving for,
Yeah,
yeah.
use the movie
Mm-hmm.
and use the like, we don't need the rest of these yahoos here. We should just like double date. And then you can have Tim say something like, are you going to invite them to the baby shower? Are you going to, and then Sue's going to be like, yeah, of course, they're family. And then you get your forgiveness there at the end.
Right. All you
Does
need
that
is
make
that one
sense?
line. Yep.
Oh, you need that one out. Of course, they're family. And then you're like moving on. Um, I don't know. That's how I would do it. I would let yourself brainstorm over it and like, think through how you want these emotional moves at the end here to go. But I
Mm-hmm.
don't think you need to draw back to the past here. I think you've written a big enough emotional moment. You've written clear enough characters that we get who these people are and what their family life has been like. Um, how does all of that feel?
Sounds good.
Okay. What
Yep.
other questions do you have, or what are you worried about with the piece?
No, I think I want to change the role of Fred, bring him in so that there's a reason that Tim and Sue can forgive both of them. I love the one line at the end that kind of says it all without going into all the stuff.
Yeah, and
The forgiveness.
I wouldn't touch Fred until you get to Sue's baby stuff.
Okay.
That's where I'd start editing Fred. I think he's great before that.
Okay.
I would start editing him at the baby stuff, where we get to the like where Kate really starts getting involved. That's where I'd start bringing Eileen and Fred back in.
Where he has to defend Kate.
Yeah, where he has to defend Kate and where he surprisingly does defend Kate, and then he gets mad at the whole room,
Yeah, he
Kate
has to get
included.
mad at
But
everybody.
he's mad at everybody. He's
Right.
not mad at Kate. But then
Mm-mm.
in the end, he's not. And I would have him take a shot at Paul at the end. I wouldn't let Paul say he's going to retire to watch the baby without Fred being like, "What is happening?"
Mm. When he
Yeah.
defends Kate to Paul, what do you think? Does Paul have to respond right away, or can he
I wouldn't
wait?
have Paul respond. I would have Paul like I here where we get this Sue stood taking a deep breath as she took Paul's hand. She walked onto the end of the table and looked at Mom, I thought you'd be happy for us. Happy? Really, Sue? Have Paul interject like, hey, don't talk to her like that. And then
Hmm.
I would have Fred be like, don't talk to her that way.
Okay.
And then Kate can be the one that intercedes. Kate looked past Sue at
Okay.
Paul.
I don't have to have
You've
him
only known her
respond.
for 2 years, Paul, right? Like,
Okay.
because if Fred says something, Kate drives it back to
Okay.
you don't know Sue, and you're
Okay.
good, right? Like,
Yeah, because otherwise they're going to be Paul and Fred, Paul and
yeah, you
Fred,
don't
Paul and
need the branch of Paul and Fred because Kate
Fred.
lops it off for you and brings it
Okay.
right back to the
Okay.
truck.
That's
Yeah,
good. All
yeah,
right.
yeah.
No,
And
I
I
like
think
it.
it's a really fun story. I think it's,
Well, we'll see when I get it done.
I mean, I feel like I've said at these kind of family meals before. I think this is great.
Oh, I'm
This is
sure you
really good.
have. I'm
Yeah,
sure
it's
everybody
really good.
has.
Yeah. Now, if you want to keep Polly, because we talked about cutting Polly, if you want to keep her, you need to give her something to do. Um, right now, she doesn't really have a role, and I'd make her a cousin, not a niece. I'd make her cousin Polly. Um, and I don't know what her role would be. Everything's kind of covered.
Right. She's kind of just a side to Paul, and she announces the pregnancy, but I can, like you
Yeah,
said,
I'd let
Alice can
Alice
do
do
that.
that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think I have enough characters.
There's a lot here. You balance a large cast really well. You do a great job with this piece balancing
Thank you.
seven, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 characters at a table is what you're balancing. You do a really good job. Yeah.
Thank you.
Um, okay. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, that's
All right.
great,
This
Jeff.
was so much fun.
Thank you.
I will hit stop and we can talk a little bit more.
Okay.